Hello everyone, welcome to episode 8 on Cities Skylines. So if you've missed the previous episodes and you're new to Cities Skylines, I would recommend going back and just checking some of that out so you have more of an understanding of the game from start to finish. With that being said, let's start building a city. So first things first, let's talk about this map. Now, this is a map that I actually created myself, and it is in my Steam workshop under Cities Skylines, and I will link you to that in the description if you're interested in this map or other maps that I have created. So I have a number of mods installed, and I will show you those now. You can make note of them. I will also provide links in the description. These are basically quality of life mods that make the game look, in my opinion, a lot better. And I think some of them should have came in the base game. This one in particular, I thought it was really good, especially for doing, a bit of a tutorial, a beginner's guide. It will show you the length of the road, the angles of the road, and also the cost of the road. So this is very good when it comes to calculating, not only the distance, but the cost and the angles. So if you're making roundabouts and stuff like that, you can make it look really, really nice. Now this is another mod which I believe is crucial, and it should have came really in the base game. It's called City Vitals, and it just gives you an overview. At a glance, you can figure out what's going on in your city. So I would definitely recommend that you install this. Finally, are we going to start a city now? Yes, we are. Let's go ahead. So one of the first things that you want to decide on is how to build your roads and which roads that you will build. I would recommend gravel roads at the beginning. Now this is a bit of a trick here. So there's nothing really here, right? Road-wise to select from. There's just one 2-lane road, and this is going to cost you quite a bit, 40 per cell. So just do this, and then go ahead and bulldoze it, and then it will unlock more roads. And these are the ones that you really want to lay down first. You can change them later because you see, for example here, I just made a road, and I removed that road, and I'm not getting back all of the money for that particular road. It only will refund you some of that amount. So keep that in mind as well. Now this also applies to assets like, for example, a coal power plant. So if you decide to build it and move it, it's going to cost you. So just make sure when you're laying down everything that you have a good plan and you're not going to be tearing up infrastructure and moving buildings around too much. All right, so here at the beginning, this is what we have to work with. So we need to plan out before we start laying down infrastructure, right? Because we don't have much money to work with. So how are we going to do this? Well, when I look at this, I know that I have to lay down roads. I know that I need to lay down residential, commercial, and industrial. First, residential. But before you really do any of that stuff, you want to have a plan in place and figure out how you're going to get electricity to the city. How are you going to get water to the city? And also you need to deal with the fact that there's going to be sewage. So in the base game at the beginning, you don't have a lot of options here when it comes to water and sewer. You don't have any of these wonderful inland treatment plants either. And by the way, I will also link you to the DLCs that I currently have so you can have some idea, because some assets in here are from those. So I'm going to lay down a gravel road as a start, and it's going to be used really as a guide to lay down everything else. So I'm going to select a 2-lane gravel road, and I'm going to go close to these one-way roads. One comes in and one exits. So if you just go close to them, you can see these, visual aid guides that come up on the screen. These are great because you can use these to really lay down a grid pattern that looks very symmetrical. So with that being said, before I click on anything here and create a start, I'm going to make sure that I have the straight road toggled on. And also I'm going to enable the snapping for everything. Now, you don't always want to have everything on here, and sometimes you will want to have a curved road or do free form, or you'll want to upgrade a road or change the direction of the road. But, just to start here, I'm just going to show you. So I'm just going to go right here, line it up as best I can, then go up 10 units, and then you can see the construction cost is 200. So, you start laying down a number of roads and you can really, really use up a lot of funds very, very quickly. Here we go. We've got our first road. So I'm going to create a roundabout here in the middle, and then I'm going to use that and build off of that. Let's go ahead here, and I'm going to measure out from here. I'm going to measure out 30. And I'm going to go at 180 degrees. You can see here the angle. I'm going to go out 30 units to here. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start on this end, and I'm going to create a roundabout. And I want to create a one-way. So I'm going to chew up a little bit of budget here when I'm doing this, but I want to create the roundabout using a one-way. So I want the traffic to come in here, go around the roundabout, go where they need to go, and then exit the city here. Logically, it just makes sense. So go down to roads and select 2-lane, one-way road. You can select this one if you want to. So I'm going to measure up from here 15, and then I'm going to go over 15, but maintaining a 90-degree angle, and then click. And I'm going to do the same all the way around and go over 15, and then there you go. There's your roundabout. So now we just need to make sure that the road that we just laid down is in the right direction. It's a one-way road after all. So select roads, select that particular road, and then select the upgrade road. You can see here it's saying it's broken. It's in the wrong direction. So we're going to correct that. So I'm going to select the road, and then it doesn't have to be the same road. It could be, you could upgrade the road if you wanted to. So select whichever road. I'm going to stick with this one, and then hover over it, and then go ahead and right click, and you can see it will change direction. And I'll do this to the ones that I need to do it to. These I don't. And this one here I do. This one here I do. And this one here I do. So now we need to connect to the outside world so we can get people coming into the city and building. And to do that, we need to connect these outside connections to the inside ones. And you can do this a number of ways, but I'm going to again select a one-way road, and I'm going to use the freeform road tool here to do that. Going to click on it, and then I'm going to come up here and see, hopefully it will make a connection, and that's not bad. That's pretty good. The other one, I'm just going to reverse it. I'm going to come over here and then make this connection. Keep in mind though, to make sure that the directions are correct, and they are. And this would be a good time to save the game. Do this periodically during your building process, because if you do run into a situation where the city fails, you can always go back. So here's what I'm thinking. I'm going to have residential mostly on the left side, industrial on the right side. Remember, you always want to have the industrial zones away from the residential zones, but you can have commercial zones mixed throughout residential and industrial. And if we go down to zoning, you can see where we can actually zone residential, commercial, and industrial. So taking a moment here to look to see how I can design this, I think the best option is to probably spend a little bit extra money here and go with 2-lane roads that come off of this main one-way roundabout. So I'm going to come off here 40 and 40 and 40, and then build gravel roads off of that. So just laying down a few roads here, look at the bank balance. You have to keep an eye on this, because if you don't, you can soon use up all your funds or close on it, and then you don't have enough money to lay down electricity and water and sewer services. So I'm going to place a coal power plant right here. Windmills are not going to work for me because there's no real wind down around this city area, unfortunately. And besides, bang for the buck on this is pretty good. Then I will have to lay down power lines. But this is on this side. Residential is over here. And I'm going to have to also power an intake pump for water, and I'm going to have to evacuate sewage. So I'm going to need to basically separate those, right? You need to have the intake for the water, obviously upstream from sewage, because otherwise you will kill everyone in the city. So I'm going to put the water pumping station, and I'm going to place the eco water outlet. Now there's an option here where you can just go with the regular water drain pipe. That's a lot cheaper. But since I'm coming all the way over here with pipes, I figure I might as well, have the intake for the pump instead of using the water tower. But you can use this if you want to, right? So you have options here, but that's kind of how I'm going to lay it down. And now we have to zone some residential. So let's start doing that. So I'm going to again have the left side here, residential, and I'm not going to get too carried away. As you can see here, the RCI meters here in the bottom, residential, commercial, industrial. The residential one is now decreasing since I've laid down some more homes, and looks like we got a water problem here, so we need to deal with that. I'm not going to go crazy here with the pipes. Just going to lay them down. Oh, see that? I missed it in the middle. And this is something else too. When you're laying these down, I tell you, you've got to be pretty careful because, again, they cost money. So we're good. Now it's demanding commercial. Let's lay down some commercial. And I'm going to actually lay down another road here in the middle. You can see commercial demand is going down as I have zoned. So let's plop down some industrial over here, and you can rezone all this later, so don't worry too much about it right now. So it looks like we need to lay some more water pipes, and if you look here, we're not doing that bad, but as we lay more infrastructure, costs are going to go right through the roof. All right, so these guys are happy, I think. And now, since we've laid more pipes, water pipes, they have to monitor this, and maybe I need to adjust this, right? Go back into the economy tab and look at budgets. Now, I lowered these. This is a bit of a trick, actually. If you don't want these maxed out at the beginning, you want to lower them so you are not spending as much. If you look, when I lower it, you can see here that the electricity availability is going up, it's going down the more you spend, obviously. And water, I can probably go all the way down on this. That applies to all of these: recycling, clinics, fire, police, etc. So keep this in mind. This is an important tab. Now it looks like we got some abandoned buildings, and that's not a big deal, but they're probably abandoned because we do not have a recycling center. So let's fix that. Let's plop down a recycling center. Now, the best thing to do with these buildings is basically bulldoze them. Anymore? No, that's it. Now, eventually, you should see these go away. You see? There you go. So we're in good shape so far. Now the residential demand, you see it's getting high. So now, in order to lay more residential, we need to check the water pipes, and they're not over there yet. So I need to put them plumb all the way over. Normally I go via the roads, underneath the roads, but sometimes to save money at the beginning, I do not. All right, so let's zone for more residential. You can watch them being built if you want to. And this is a neat little trick. If you click on a dog, you can click on a person, a car, but you can follow. Let's see where this person's going, Carol. So I click on this here, and you can see where she's going. She's going to buy something, I guess. But you can follow her as well. You can focus on her. So at a point where we need to look at the milestones, and we are pretty close to the next one. Yes, Now we're running into electricity problems here, and the reason for that is because, there you go, Worthy Village. We've done it. We've made it this far. And every time you progress with these milestones, you actually get extra monies, and that will definitely come in handy. So let's go back into the economy tab here, go into budget. You can see here electricity availability is very low, so let's increase this. These guys are happy. That's wonderful. And we also need some more commercial. If you zone commercial, like in a central place, let's put it right there in the middle. And that should satisfy everybody around it. And let's do some rezoning here. As you're growing the city, you'll move things around all of the time. So while you're in this area for now, who knows where everything's going to end up. Now you can't apply taxes yet, so you have to wait. I believe it's until the next milestone that you can apply taxes. And that will definitely come in handy. You see what's happening now is crime is going up. Grab a police station here, and they're not cheap. They're $12,000. So I'm going to plop this right here, and you can see the green. This is where there's coverage. So if I plop the police station there, everyone is kind of happy. And I'm probably going to put all the services in this particular area as well. So now demand for electricity is going up again, and water also. So let's just go into the economy here, increase the budget on both. Not too high, just enough. And these little messages will pop up from time to time, which is great actually. It's a great reminder. You can buy a parcel of land now, and each particular zone will cost more or less. So if I go click on this one, it's $4,000. If I click on this one, it is $7,000. And at this point, I would not buy another parcel of land, to be honest, because that $4,000 to $7,000 or $10,000, it depends on what's on the land. If there's also natural resources there, then it's going to cost you much more, but at this point you can't afford it. So we have a major issue over here. There's a building that's completely on fire, so we need to plop down a fire hall or fire station, and hopefully they will deal with this mess. And if not, well, it looks like it is done. So we'll have to bulldoze this. But that's a great reminder that, police and fire are very crucial when starting a city. Now residential demand has gone up again, so we need to lay some more roads. Again, these are all gravel roads. We're doing pretty good. The big circle, the small circle, and then there's the marquee. So you can choose whichever one you want. So we have reached Tiny Town, and this unlocks all kinds of other options here. Tons of stuff. So let's investigate this. Let's go over here. So now we don't have taxation yet, but now we've got other options here, which we can enable or not. So I'm just going to keep laying down residential, commercial, and industrial zones and expand it until we hit the next milestone. So I'll see you then. Okay, so we have reached Boomtown, and that means that we have, let me see, taxes. So they're at 9%. We're going to go to 12% all across the board, and that should bring in some extra income. That's great. Now I can see that energy is a problem because I've been maxing it out. We have a recycling demand right here. That's another problem, and that you have to really deal with that because look, it's happening over here as well. So let's plop down another recycling center right here next to the other one, and that should hopefully deal with that situation for now. All right, so let's bite the bullet here and plop down another polluting coal power plant right next to the other one. So let's speed things up here. We need more industry as well. I will do the same for commercial. All right, just a few more tips before we continue. When you see low happiness popping up all the time, ignore that because look, we're happy. We don't have to spend money necessarily right now on parks if we don't have to. Also, if you want to name roads, you can do that. You can name this one, for example, Main Lane, and this one here, Main Street, or whatever, doesn't matter. And you can also make roads priority roads, and this is certainly a priority road, so we'll make that a priority road. And you can also adjust the junctions, so you can, have people stop here, you can put lights here. It kind of really helps traffic flow. Now you can also make a building an historic building, and that will basically preserve its visual appearance. So next, I suspect we will probably need a cemetery. You're going to need childcare, an elementary school, and we'll go from that. Let's put our cemetery and our childcare. We can have that in the center here, and we also need an elementary school. Now, you can check the demand that you have up here for education, and it's fairly high, right? So you get 300 eligible, over 300 eligible, and this one's 26,000. It's quite expensive. Our budget's pretty good, so this one's 10. Capacity is 300. This one is 800. I'm just going to go with this one for now, because I might need to have a few of them, right, as the city grows. So put that one next to the childcare. That makes sense, right? Where is the childcare? Right there. So maybe across the street. And let's just let it run. And we need to deal with zoning again, so we need to lay down some more residential, commercial, and industrial. I'm not sure if I mentioned this at the beginning of the video. It's about when you're laying down the power lines, you don't need to lay them all over the city. By now you probably figured that out, but you just need to go close to a building and then to the power source. If you remember back when we started, it went from the coal power plant over here to over here, and then I started building here, and I just spread out from this area. Now, unfortunately, this doesn't work with the water pipe. So every asset in the game has a lot of detailed information about it. So just click on the building, and then it will tell you this. And in here, you can really get clues onto how you can improve traffic. Maybe you need to relocate the building, or for example, a coal power plant, you can actually get detailed information how it's operating. If I go over here to a recycling center, for example, I can see if that center is maxed out or not. I can also see the traffic flow. I can focus on it, and I can relocate it as well. You can open up the budget. So we've reached Busy Town, and another tab has opened up here, Unique Buildings. Okay, so we are running into a problem here now. Garbage is piling up. Let's check our recycling centers. These look like they're pretty much maxed out, so I'm gonna drop another recycling center down here, and now we're good. Everyone's happy again. So we are running into an issue right here. So we've got the sewage exhausting here. You can see it's going all the way out into the harbor. Not a pretty sight. We'll update that, but this is becoming a problem. You see what's happening? I have basically pushed the budget on this, not to the limit, but the pump is working really, really hard intaking water, and it's pulling water in from, well, here is okay, but it's also pulling water back from here, and that is not good, because eventually what it's going to do, you see, it's going to pull back this sewage into the pump, and then you're going to see residents getting sick. So I'm going to deal with this before it becomes an issue. So there is actually a way of dealing with all of this sewage later on in the game when it's actually available. You can go in here and plop down a floating garbage collector, and this will suck up all of this. So later on in the game, you'll be able to maybe have an inland treatment plant and get rid of this and then clean this up afterwards. I'm going to grab a couple of water towers here and put them in the center of town. I'll put one here and one over here and then connect them. Now I will get rid of this pump and get rid of all of these power lines. And now let's have a look at the water availability and check the budget. Oh, let's lower this. And it looks like I'm going to need also another coal power plant. So let's do that. I'm going to drop down another water tower and a coal power plant. Okay, we have another option here. Power output 120. Yeah, But how much is it though? 50 grand. Our bank balance is good, so how much is this one? So we have to reach a population for this one of 9,500. So let's just plop this one down here. And we can leave the other two there for now. And again, adjust the budget. Don't need to have it maxed out. What happened here? This is not good. Apparently, garbage is really backing up. Let's go ahead and fix that. Let's put in a landfill. And let's pop in 2, and we'll go through and just take all this out. So this is another little trick. You don't need to go in and bulldoze it. Just go in and dezone it and put it back in, and it will rebuild. So since sewage was starting to back up, I added another drain pipe. This was actually the first one. Relatively inexpensive. Great capacity here. Upkeep is not too bad, but I added this one, an eco water outlet, because, well, you know, it's not going to pollute the environment so much, and literally it's not double per week but close on it, and the capacity is half. So I don't know, you know, it's one of these decisions whether you should or should not, but just check your balance and see if it makes sense or not. And I can't wait to get to these inland water treatment plants, because you can get rid of all of this and clean up the water. All right, so I actually updated a few roads. This major artery right here, all the way over. I have a tunnel now going from here under this highway to this section because I need to expand. Also zoned. And now let's just let the population build up. And there we have it, a big town, and now we have taxation policies. Now, before we go on to taxation and other policies, probably wondering, how did I create the tunnel? Well, I will show you. I will destroy this one here first and recreate it. So what I did was I ran this road over, and then I selected this road, and then I clicked on the road, but then I used page down. And at that point, you can click here. It'll create that entry tunnel, go all the way over here, and now connect up the exit tunnel. And that's as simple as it is. So while page down goes underground, page up goes above ground to create bridges. And you probably noticed this. I did build a bridge across this humongous river here, and I will set up an industry probably later on. I'm getting ahead of myself though. Let's get back over here. Now let's get on to the policies. So you got 3 tabs here: services, taxation, and city planning. Services are going to cost you money. However, if you have a great bank balance and your weekly income is okay, I would go ahead and start implementing some of these, because at the end of the day, they might save you a lot of headaches. It'll save you on power. It'll save you, for example, on water, less fires, and so on. Taxation, same things. Enable the ones that you want to enable or not. Like, for example, I usually raise tax for a high density residential. And city planning, well, you'll have to choose which ones that you want to turn on and off. It really depends on what you're going for. Sometimes when you're playing this game, you get so focused on zoning and building up the residential, commercial, and industrial, dealing with the roads, dealing with water, electricity, and all that stuff. You tend to forget about education. You tend to forget about other things, right? So let's get back here to education. We're not doing very well at all when it comes to education, because all we have is an elementary school and it's maxed out. So I'm going to demolish this, build a high capacity one, also a high capacity high school, and then maybe a park or a playground next to it in this area. As well, I'm going to rezone this area to, well, some of it anyway, high capacity residential zoning. So I'm going to need those high capacity, education centers. So what I did was I placed a park here, playground here, the elementary school is here, and the high school is right here. They're all off of this main road, but they're not on it. So while this area is building up, I can see that demand is growing for industrial. So I'm going to plop down some more roads and plummet. Yay! Look, we've reached small town, and even more things. New services, new policies, new roads, new buildings, and on it goes. So let's do a couple of checks here. Let's check for the noise pollution. We're good. Our industry is away from our residential. And if you look at the commercial and the office areas. Commercial zones do create some noise, obviously. So, it doesn't really matter per se if they're close to residents. You can also use commercial zones and office zones as a buffer between, like, for example, industry and residential zones. You can also put down parks, and you can also put down trees and things like that. That will help quite a bit. Next up, let's check for pollution. So obviously industry is going to pollute quite a bit. So keep that away from everything as much as you can. And now let's check traffic. Well, I expect this because, there's one major road here and it's obviously going to be completely full of traffic. We're looking at an average traffic flow of 60%. That's not great. You should be up between, 70 to 80% plus. And how you can mitigate this is to lay down obviously more large roads and also to improve roundabouts and things like that. Finally, I made it to Big City, but let me backtrack and I'll tell you how I got here. So let's start on the right side. I built a lot more industry as well. I did upgrade to oil power plants. I got rid of the coal power plant. I also put in a toll bridge here. I also added some incineration plants right here, as well as some more recycling, and upgraded the roads as well. This one here I upgraded. This one here I upgraded. I also upgraded these coming in to basically higher capacity roads. I made this one in the middle here a high priority road. This one here a priority road. So I did some upgrades when it came to that. As well, added some more sewage exhaust there. Added a windmill over here, intakes for water instead of the water towers that I had over here. I have just one right here for look now, basically. I do have it connected to water though, as you can see. And let me go into zoning. And I did create some office space as well, upgraded basically to high density, not everywhere, but for example, look at the central square here now. Added some hospitals, some clinics, some police stations as well. Over in this area, I added a high school as well as an elementary school and a university. So I had to say it was tricky because I started implementing some policies. They were costing too much. So this is just a reminder, basically, when you're playing this game at the beginning, you really want to keep to basics. I mean, still a lot of the roads I have here are gravel roads, and I will upgrade these as soon as I can. This bank balance is very deceiving because if you go in the minus here every single week, like, maybe a minus $7,000 or $5,000 a week, you can really, really quickly have a negative bank balance. So we have a little ways to go here. Our next milestone is Grand City, Capital City, Colossal City, and then Megalopolis. And of course, you can go way beyond that. So this game, at least for me, has been one that I've replayed over and over and over again. And the reason is it's very captivating because I've gotten into making my own maps as well as some assets and things. So you can make it your own and you can literally build a city in a million different ways. So it's very captivating, challenging. It's also relaxing and very, very rewarding. And with that, I'm going to sign off. And just as a reminder, remember to subscribe, hit that bell so you get notified when I release a new video. If you liked this video and the other ones in the series or the other content that I have, also thumb it up. And of course, you can always consider becoming a Patreon. It's a small knit community where you can talk to me one-on-one.